Right, today we're talking about baby names.
Okay.
So basically why we chose the names we have for our children, and what I'm going to do with this baby's name, because I really don't know.
She needs some help.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll just say, we just recorded a whole almost video for you about baby names, and I forgot to charge the camera battery and it died. So we're starting again.
Yeah, I know. It's great. This is what happens with mummy brains.
Mel wants to punch me so bad right now.
So obviously Annalise has 4 children, so she'll go through what names she's chosen and why.
We were previously saying that it's not as easy as just plucking a name you like out of thin air. There's so many things to think of when you're picking a name. You know, you've got to check that the initials work well together nicely and don't spell something rude or hideous.
Yeah, because that can be devastating if you don't realise.
Yeah, if you don't realise and then you name your child that, it's like, oh my god, what have I done? Because they're stuck with that for life. Until they get married, maybe.
Yeah, to be honest, I never thought of that actually with either of the girls' names.
Yeah. I always think of that. And then you've also got to make sure that their first name goes with their last name.
That's a major one.
And that their name sounds nice without a middle name. If you're putting a middle name in there, you've got to decide if you're having a middle name, how many middle names you're going to have.
Are you going to double barrel names?
Yeah. So many different things to think of. So
Absolutely.
When we had our first daughter, it was quite easy actually. We literally just picked the name that we liked because it didn't really have to go with any other siblings or anything. As long as it went well with the last name, it was fine.
Yeah.
So she's Paige Harmony. There's no real story behind it. It's just a name that we both liked, or both of her names we liked, so we went with it. And it really suits her.
I wouldn't know. This is quite funny because if obviously once you've got your child, I think you wouldn't have known her any other way. No.
She really suits Paige. She is just a Paige. She's like quirky and I don't know. She's like fashionable and sort of leads the way, and that's sort of how I think of the name Paige.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going with the crowd type thing. It sort of stands out on its own, but not too much. So yeah, she is a Paige. She suits it really well. And then our second daughter is Honey Milia, and there is a story behind her name, and I quite like it. She was born in Greece, and in Greece, the babies are named after their grandparents. So if, the first 2 children, like if it's a boy and a girl, are named after the dad's parents or grandparents, and then the ones after that are named after the mother's parents and grandparents. So we sort of wanted to keep some of that in naming her, but we didn't like any of our parents' names enough to name her that.
I'm sure how I feel about that.
I'm sorry, Mum and Dad. So what we did was my grandma's maiden name was actually Honey, and we both loved the name Honey anyway, but I also loved that it was my grandma's maiden name. It made it extra special for me, and a way of sort of like a tribute to her. So that's Honey's first name, and then my partner's nan, her name was Millicent, but I thought the St at the end was a little bit too harsh to go with Honey, and it's quite a sort of older name anyway. So we adapted it to Milia, which is actually a Greek name as well. So she's got like my grandma's name in there and my partner's grandma's name in there as like a sort of a tribute, but also it's a Greek sort of
I think that's so sweet. I really do.
So that's why she's called that. And then we had our son, which is definitely, boys' names are so much harder than girls' names. They're really difficult
I think that's why I'm struggling.
Yeah, they're so much harder, definitely. So for him, I prefer like different names, and I think maybe it's because my name is quite different, whereas my partner prefers quite straight-laced, normal names. So we did struggle. And we both agreed on Jay. We liked the name Jay. It was you know, it's a boyish name, it's a little bit different, not everyone's called Jay, but at the same time he's not going to get picked on for having it.
And you can't shorten it either.
No, you can't shorten it to anything that's going to annoy him, it's just Jay. You know? And then his middle name is Parker, so he's Jay Parker. Parker I absolutely love. I've always loved the name Parker, and if we'd have had another boy, I'd have probably pushed for the name Parker as like a first name. But the reason that he's Jay Parker, it was set in stone, is because when I was pregnant at Christmas time, my partner's mum had actually bought me one of my favourite author's books. I love Marianne Keyes. I'm obsessed with all of her books. She's an amazing writer.
See, I thought it was Sex and the Sea.
And her latest book had come out, and she bought it for me for Christmas, and she said, but you're not allowed to read it until you're in hospital. You have to read it when you're in hospital after having the baby so that you're relaxing. And I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. I was like, can I read the back though? Can I just like read what it's about? She was like, yeah, go on then. So we read the back, and one of the main characters was called Jay Parker. And I was like, oh my God. And I like said to my partner, get over here, and I pointed to it, and he was like, that's the name. And I was like, it is, isn't it? And he was like, that is the name. So that was it, Jay Parker. And you know, there we go, that was his name. And then the baby, oh my goodness, her name was such a mission to figure out, like literally right up until the last minute, we still weren't.
No, we were coffee morning, honestly,
like trying to brainstorm names, because I was just I was like, no, don't like this name, no, don't like that name, and my partner didn't like any of the names that I liked, and I didn't like any of the names that he liked. It was so difficult.
It was a massive topic, honestly.
Yeah, it really was. And then I went into labour early, and so they like pulled her out because I had a cesarean, obviously, and then they were like, right, so what's her name? And we sort of looked at each other and were like, well, it's going to have to be this one. Like, we only had one name that we agreed on. So she's Winter Rose, which is double-barrelled, Aurora Willow, and she has more middle names than the others because she was a twin, and we lost the twin really early on in pregnancy. So that was our way of tributing towards the twin that we lost. We don't know if it was a boy or a girl. We never will now. But it was a way that we could not acknowledge the other twin that we lost. Yeah, dedication to her. So originally she wasn't double-barrelled. She was just Winter, and then her middle names were Rose, Aurora, Willow. But then everybody was on at us about, oh, you should double barrel it, Winter Rose is beautiful. And we were like, oh, I don't know.
And there is actually a rose called Winter Rose.
Winter Rose, yes. Yeah. And when we went to register her, we sort of, on a spur of the moment thing, we were like, let's double barrel it. So we did, and then we showed everyone, and we're like, surprise, we double barreled her. So she's Winter Rose. Aurora was my favourite name that I really wanted in there somewhere. And Willow was my partner's favourite name that he really wanted in there. So we sort of compromised on having those as middle names. And we just thought it sounded better, Aurora Willow, rather than Willow Aurora. So, and we had to also think of the initials, because originally as well, before Winter Rose, it was actually Winter Aurora Rose Willow. And then my partner was like, her initials spell war.
Yeah, no.
Winter Aurora Rose, and I was like, oh my goodness. So we just quickly changed it round, and then we just fell in love with Winter Rose anyway.
Yeah,
so it worked.
That. Mine, my first daughter, do you know, it was so quite funny, I just looked through baby book names.
Oh, I was pouring through those, but they didn't help.
No, we were looking through them, and both of us fell in love with Caitlin. So our daughter is Caitlin Page. Not double barreled. That's quite funny. But we
have
both
taste.
Yeah, absolutely. But we both fell in love with the name, and it stuck with her. We never compromised on either of it. We always, as soon as she was born, she looked like Caitlin, and
it really does suit her.
Yeah, it's quite nice that we never had to worry about, obviously, what does everyone else think about that as well. With our second daughter, I did find it a bit harder.
Sorry.
Because I think obviously I had already had a girl, so it took us a lot longer to decide. And obviously I was going back and forth to family and saying, oh, what do you think of this name? And some people weren't liking it and some people were, and I actually got quite upset at one point because I was just like, I really don't know. And
yeah, so many people stick their oar in and have their own opinion on what you should name your baby.
But I do still feel that I want to kind of please I am such a people pleaser, I think.
She's too much of a people pleaser.
So I always wanted, obviously, other people's opinions of it. I think that was probably what I shouldn't have done. But I do like other people's opinions on them. But we named our daughter Amber Rose. Yeah, and
that's really funny.
I know, both of them have got
I've never thought about that before.
But I just loved the name, and it's
beautiful.
it's such an obviously I had to think of what would go with Caitlin. I had to kind of think, am I going to have any issues there with them sounding really weird and things like that? But
yeah, some names just don't go together, do they? But
it took a long time to think of it. But yeah, I adore her name, and I wouldn't think of any other name either. And I think that's quite good. You don't think of your child as any other name.
No.
When she's born.
Yeah, because if they're born and you name them that, and then you kind of look at them a couple of years later and you're like, yeah, you don't see your name.
No.
You'd be a bit screwed, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you have to go through deep hole.
Yeah. So now we need help deciding on what this one is going to be called, because Mel is completely clueless at the moment. And you quite like the idea of having a B name because there's Amber and Caitlin, so there could be a B name in between, which I think is lovely.
So nice ones. I'm getting so angry with it because I can't. There's not very many B names that
there's not.
We
like
me and my husband.
Bear, like Cheryl and Liam.
No, sorry, it's too out there.
Bear.
It's too out there. I think I want traditional names more than anything. Buddy the elf.
I love elves.
I know. I love that movie. Me and my husband have obviously can't decide. I think
you should call him Bumblebee.
Bumblebee, yeah. Bumblebee Bear.
Bumblebee Bear. No, but if you have any suggestions, please put them in the comment box below, because Mel would love to read them, and you never know, she may pick yours. And wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, we obviously it's a boy, so boy names.
No Florence.
And it doesn't have to be a B. We were out there, but I just can't. I just want, I think, more of a traditional name, but not too traditional.
Okay.
Yeah.
My dad's family, they actually did the alphabet, because my grandma was Annette and my granddad was Bernard, and then their first child
Not Bernard. Sorry.
Bernard?
Not Bernard. No,
not
Bernard
Bernard.
isn't me.
Not Bernard. No. Annette, Bernard, and then their first child was Charles, then my dad, Don, then Edward, and then Fenella. So A, B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah. I don't know. It's quite cool to be. Anyway, we'll see you later.
Yeah, we're going to go deal with the baby.
Yeah, definitely.
Bye.